Hello, recently, as many of you know, a video has surfaced on Robert Goodwin's channel, regarding the Las Vegas shooting. The video shows some type of activity taking place outside the window of room 32135 at the Mandalay Bay. If you would like to view the original video in its entirety, you can find the link in the description. Now, let's take a look at the activity in question. First off, we know floor 32 is 6 floors down from the concrete beam, as seen on the left. And, to the best of my ability, I count around 8 floors down, give or take a floor, from where we see the suspicious activity in Robert's video, as seen on the right. Does this mean the activity is not coming from the 32nd floor? Not necessarily. Let's take a look where Robert's footage is being recorded from. Here is the zoomed out perspective. And, here is an aerial view, provided by Mr. Visual, showing the position of the cameraman. With respect to room 32135. As you can see, activity from room 32135 would appear to be coming from approximately 2 floors lower than 32. Given the specific angular position of the cameraman. A simple demonstration of this phenomenon can be seen in this video, provided by JLPL's channel. Let's have a look. In this demonstration, the black marking represents the 32nd floor, and the pen represents the activity emitting from the 32nd floor. However, as you can see, standing in such a lower angular position produces an illusion. An illusion that makes activity coming from the 32nd floor appear to be coming from a lower floor, when in reality this is not the case. Granted, the box is not on a 45-degree angle, like window 135. It is still a reasonable demonstration, in my opinion, of why the activity appears to be coming from a lower floor. Now, getting back to the activity in question. What is it that we are seeing emit from room 32135? Well, my first impression was that it looked like a solid piece of material being blown around in the wind. Thus, if this were the case, the only explanation would be the curtain. At certain times in the video, the activity seems to be a physical object, perhaps the curtain, like in this comparison. However, this theory has some issues. For example, if Paddock had the curtains closed during the shooting, then he would most likely have had to fire through the curtain into the venue, but we see no apparent bullet holes or shredding done to the curtain. As you see here, no apparent evidence of bullets having penetrated the curtain. That being said, the curtain was closed upon the initial breach into room 32135. 1 hour after the shooting concluded. But when was it closed? Before the shooting began? Or after? And why was it closed? To hammer the glass without cutting himself? Or to obstruct snipers from getting an open shot? Most likely the latter, but this question remains open. By the way, you can see blowback here on the 135 curtain in the Bitsco cam footage. A strong indicator that the window is broken. Consistent with why we see activity emitting from window 135. In the Robert Goodwin footage. It is possible that Paddock could have taken shots from 135 while the curtain was closed. Without shooting through the curtain itself. Only if he took his shots while the wind blew the curtain upward enough. To avoid shooting through it, as you see here. However, would the wind be able to hold the curtain up long enough? And far enough, for Paddock to pull off those 100 round bursts? Leaving the curtain unscathed? Possibly, but unlikely. Or, he could have been standing in front of the curtain, with the curtain to his back. Similar to the position of the chair we see here. If that were the case, he would be risking falling out of the window. And, his body would be preventing the curtain from blowing out into the wind. Furthermore, in the Robert Goodwin footage, the activity outside window 135 seems to only become visible when gunfire is initiated. Then, quickly disappears at the end of each burst. If the activity we see is the curtain, then why can't we see the curtain blowing any longer in between bursts? The only explanation I can think of, in the curtain theory, is the curtain may be the only material between our view and the tip of the rifle. And that possibly, the muzzle flash from the tip of the rifle is illuminating the curtain during the gunfire. I cannot definitively say yes or no. Lastly, in regard to the curtain theory, I would like to include Lucas Bruch's eyewitness testimony. Let's have a listen.
He recounted from his Mandalay Bay hotel room witnessing the horrific shooting.
I could see the muzzle flash in the window, and I could see the curtains of the window flying out in the gunfire.
It's the image that hasn't left Lucas Bruch's head since Sunday night. The Lenore man was staying just floors below the shooter at the Mandalay Bay, but was outside the hotel taking pictures when the gunfire started.
This article also mentions Lucas witnessing the end of the rifle sticking out of a window, and tattered pieces of hotel curtains exploding from the window with bullets. In Lucas's testimonies that I have seen thus far, he does mention witnessing a window being broken out. Then moments later seeing a second window being broken out. He does not specifically clarify, however, which window, 134 or 135, that he is witnessing the curtain blowing out of, with gunfire and muzzle flash. But, based on the Las Vegas preliminary report, I would assume he is speaking about 135. Since he does indicate automatic gunfire coming from what sounds like the same window the curtain is blowing out of. Which, according to the preliminary report, could only be room 135. If there is a testimony where Lucas identifies the window by number, please post the link in the comments section. There are many signs that indicate the curtains being closed throughout the shooting. If this was the case, my only question is, how did Paddock shoot with the curtains closed without damaging the curtain? In other words, why do we not see bullet holes or tattooing on the 135 curtain? Maybe the damage is there, but not obvious. Or maybe there is no damage at all, which we appear to see here. These curtains seem to be double-layered and thick, which could potentially shadow muzzle flash. Therefore, for muzzle flash to illuminate the curtains, I would imagine the flash would have to be significantly bright. And maybe impossible, depending how transparent the curtains are to light. At this time, I cannot denounce the curtain theory with absolute certainty. However, maybe there is a more substantial explanation to the activity seen in Robert's footage. So far, the gunsmoke theory seems to be the most accepted theory. At first, as I mentioned previously, I thought the suspicious activity we are seeing was the curtain. However, after a closer examination, and after seeing other viewers' interpretations, the activity outside room 135 also seems to resemble gunsmoke protruding from the window, which may be a more likely explanation. Let's look again. For me, it is still hard to say for sure, exactly what we are looking at. At times, it looks like a tangible object, like the curtain blowing in the wind, then, at other times it looks like smoke exhausting from the window. However, in both cases, there must be a light source illuminating either the smoke or curtain, making this activity light up so distinctly. You can see a center of concentration of light source emitting from 135. This source, in my opinion, is the main contributor to why we are able to see this activity at all. And what other light source could be sticking out of the 135 window? If not the muzzle flash from the tip of Paddock's rifle? Is it the Mandalay sign? Or the lights running up the building creating another illusion? I'm sure these lights are helping us see whatever it is we are looking at. However, there appears to be something there, more than just smoke or the curtain being illuminated by the building lights. But I could be wrong. Also, if this is smoke, then that is a whole lot of thick and very dense smoke. Given that over 1,000 rounds is a lot. Can someone tell me, is this a realistic amount of smoke? And provide a link to a semi-automatic AR-15 video that is kicking off as much smoke as we see here. I did some video searches for indoor semi-auto gunfire, but nothing near 1,000 rounds fired indoors popped up. Anyhow, I will show you some clips of what I did find. Pay attention to the amount of smoke produced in each case.
This is what an AR-15 sounds like.
In this footage, we see very minimal smoke. Nothing near the size of the cloud we see leaving the 135 window. Then again, this footage only shows less than 20 rounds fired. In this video, we observe gun smoke from a full automatic AR-15. Maybe this will be a better representation.
Like an evil woodpecker. Not liking the bolt to the rear. this never gets old. That gas tube is hot, people. All right, X Products 50 round drum. Well, okay then. I think the word hot probably applies here. We're about to get a cook-off. She's stuck.
Although he does not fire 100-round clips, like Paddock, he pushes his rifle to max capacity, to the point it catches fire. Therefore, I believe this example shows just about the maximum amount of smoke that could have been put out by an AR-15. We definitely see more smoke in this video than the first. But would it be enough smoke to produce a cloud the size we see coming out of 135? The 135 smoke looks like a lot, and appears to span to about 1 floor in height. Is it possible to this extent? Apparently, Paddock was planning on it getting pretty smoky, since he took the time to construct the snorkel breathing tube. In the preliminary report, a detective Bolanek spots the silhouette of Paddock in the window using his binoculars. He mentions the man standing several feet back from the window in the shooting position. And he mentions seeing smoke from the man shooting but no muzzle flashes. I would imagine, for Detective Bolanek to see the man standing several feet back from the window, that would indicate the curtains were open. Or else, would this not be impossible to see? Unless, as mentioned before, he was standing in front of the curtain. Also, early on reporting mentioned, officers were able to zero in on Paddock, due to the fire alarms going off in his room, set off by the gun smoke.
Now, the way the shooter was identified was not from the muzzle flashes, but the smoke detector in the room went off from the amount of smoke that came from firing that fully automatic weapon. That's how they were able to close in on him so quickly.
But, as we know, the preliminary report later mentions Paddock was located due to a hot SOS alarm set off by the 32129 door being left ajar in the 32 North 100 hallway, which led security guard Campos stumbling onto Paddock's charade. The preliminary report does not mention a smoke alarm. Campos never mentions smoke. Prior to the breach an hour later on 135 we hear no smoke alarm triggered. And, 1 floor down from Paddock's room we hear no smoke alarm triggered while the shooting is currently taking place. We see what looks like a smoke alarm here. If Paddock's room was full of smoke, why was it not triggered? Did Paddock disengage it somehow? Or if it was triggered, why don't we hear the alarm? Did the bulk of the smoke escape out the window, without filling the room? Could this be done by sticking the tip of the rifle outside the window while firing? Lucas did say he saw Paddock stick the tip of the rifle out the window. Is that the light source we are seeing here? Or, was he standing several feet inside the room, in the shooting position, like how Detective Bolanek mentioned seeing? But then, wouldn't that position inject smoke into the room, setting off the smoke alarm? Maybe not, if his rifle did not give off excessive smoke. But, this looks like excessive smoke to me. If it is indeed smoke. One other thing I would like to note. Why did many early on news articles mention a smoke alarm? Apparently, a retired lieutenant with the Las Vegas police named Randy Sutton received this information from police sources and disclosed it to the press. Randy mentions the room being filled with gun smoke, which triggered the smoke alarm. However, when Sergeant Bitsko enters the room an hour later, we don't see the smoke. Maybe it settled by then. We do hear the fire alarm get triggered and ring down the hallway, but not until after the breach takes place. Much after the shooting has already concluded. If the activity we are seeing, coming from the 135 window is the curtain, why does the curtain not show gunfire damage? And why would Paddock want the curtain closed during the shooting? If he stood in front of the curtain, that could have helped prevent gun smoke from reaching further back in the room, reducing the chances of triggering the fire alarm. Or, if he shot from behind the curtain, it would help shadow the muzzle flash. But then, how would Detective Bolanek have seen Paddock's silhouette in the window? If Paddock was hidden behind the curtain, if the curtain was open, then how did Lucas Bruch see the curtain blowing out of the window with gunfire? And Lucas mentions seeing Paddock stick the tip of his rifle outside the window while shooting. Is the light source we see in Robert Goodwin's video the muzzle flash from the rifle tip sticking outside the window? Was the curtain closed during the shooting? Or was it open? In Robert's video, are we seeing the curtain, smoke? Or a little bit of both? If the smoke theory is true, is the amount of smoke leaving the 135 window possible? Or, is that too much smoke? Keep in mind, Paddock would have switched through multiple rifles before letting one catch fire like the demonstration shown earlier. Lastly, was the smoke alarm in Paddock's room ever activated? If not, why not? Retired Lieutenant Randy Sutton said his police sources mentioned the room being filled with smoke, and that the smoke set off the smoke alarm. But, the preliminary report never mentions the smoke alarm, and the body cam footage shows no fire alarm triggered until after the breach on room 135 took place an hour after the shooting. Furthermore, how did Paddock prevent the smoke alarm from being triggered while he was in the middle of room 135, shooting down the hallway at Campos? At that moment, the smoke detector would have been near or right over his head. Did Paddock deactivate the smoke detector somehow? If he did, wouldn't that have sent notification to Mandalay Bay staff? As you can see, many questions remain along with many contradictions, followed by a lack of evidence to conclude on much. But maybe this will stimulate some new ideas and questions to think about. If there is anything I overlooked, forgot to mention, over-exaggerated, misspoke about, or if there is anything you would like to add to this discussion, please respectfully leave your thoughts and ideas in the comments below.